Thank you, Caoirleach, and I have a lot to get through, so thank you very much. And I want to begin by thanking Senators for inviting me to discuss this really important topic. And I know I was here in March to speak about women's health on International Women's Day. Breast cancer was raised by several senators, and I know many of you have raised it continually since. As many of you are aware, about 3,600 women are diagnosed with breast cancer every year, making it the most common cancer for women in Ireland. 1 in 7 women will receive a breast cancer diagnosis in their lifetime. And that's of an overall, for example, in 2024, 9,000 people who began chemotherapy treatment for cancer, 85% within the 15-day target, and 6,500 began radiation treatment, again, 75% within the 15-day target. So, you know, it's a very significant cancer in Ireland generally. And while our overall 5-year survival rate is now 88%, still far too many women die from breast cancer. I think it's important to just reflect on that as a comparative figure. Our survival rates have improved to 82% for those diagnosed between 2014 and 2018, and that is an important increase. Prior to that, for the period 2010-2014, it was 82%. So it is an important improvement, but we need to continue to do more to continue that we are improving that. And the programme for government sets out several priority areas for improving cancer services, including the continued expansion of cancer screening programmes, improving access to medication, and supporting survivorship and research programmes for all cancer patients. Let me start with the breast check screening programme, which we all know to be so fantastic. It did 2.6 million mammograms last year, in total it has identified 18,000 cancers. There are 625,000 women eligible for that screening programme, and that has grown by 19% in 6 years. So it's a very significant expansion, and we know that it detects early stage cancers, which are the ones capable of being treated best. It's currently inviting women between 50 and 69 to have a mammogram at regular intervals. But senators will be aware that we are trying to expand that, and that we are asking the National Screening Advisory Committee, an independent committee, for their best evidence as to how best to extend that, whether dependent on age possibly, or indeed in relation to the very important issue of breast density measurement. And that is a particularly important review because we have two very competing pieces of scientific information, both from the European Commission Initiative on Breast Cancer and then in contrast the European Society for Breast Imaging, which takes certain slightly different perspectives on the science. So we do need to make sure that we're making an evidence-based scientific decision. And so it's important to say that NASCA are asking HICWA to look at the evidence, the scientific evidence for the expansion of that. And work is expected to start definitely by October, but I'm told potentially as early as next month, and I expect that the review may take about 18 months. So it's a very, very important scientific base for what we do next, and that's of course how we like to do things. But we have continued to expand in the National Screening Service with an additional 2.9 million to breast check just this year. That will recruit an extra 22 whole-time equivalent positions, mostly radiographers. So that is, as a comparative figure, is in addition to the current 79 radiographers. So that's quite a significant expansion, as senators will be aware, like the radiographers and radiologists that I met in Eccles Street recently when I visited the breast check clinic there to celebrate 25 years of breast check, and of course in the Marion Centre, Cork and Galway. So that is very important funding that will help expand capacity and deal with some of the waiting list issues that have been there over the past period. So that is quite important. Our 9 symptomatic breast check clinics, our breast disease clinics, are really important in our breast cancer diagnosis. Very important GP referral guidelines, and I think senators will raise this, and they're very important, clear referral guidelines to provide a clear pathway to patients of all ages with suspected breast cancer to attend symptomatic breast disease clinics. About 45,000 women there are seen every year, and they detect about 2/3 of all breast cancers, with the other third being detected in the screening clinics. Attendance at those clinics is very, very high, and I do not want to see delays, which is for so many different reasons. This HSE maintains a suite of clinical guidelines for cancer, and just last month we updated, or I launched the update to the HSE clinical guidelines for the diagnosis and staging of breast cancer. But that's all fine insofar, but we need to make sure that we have the medicine for people who need it. Now, new medicines have played a very important role in improving the outcomes for cancer patients. The HSE has approved reimbursement for 74 cancer drugs for cancer between 2021 and 2024, and our budget for that has been €645 million, which is very significant. 8 drugs for breast cancer alone have been approved since 2022. for early and late stages of the disease and for different types of the disease. But I do recognise that we want to have those drugs, where appropriate, approved at a faster pace. The HSE recently recruited 34 additional staff to the pricing and reimbursement process. What's important to realise that is, though, that is a 100% increase on the number of people that had been there. So that really is a significant expansion, a 100% expansion of the number of people. Of course, it's my job to make sure that their processes are such that they are using that additional resource in an effective and efficient way. We've also introduced an application tracker by the HSE to increase transparency in the medicines assessment process. And that, on the one hand, is for the HSE to do well. It is also for the drug companies to do well. And a bit like financial services in the central bank, both parties have to submit things on time and keep up with the process. But I will be monitoring it closely, I can inform senators. Alongside improved detection and treatment, we really have to drive more on clinical trials. And I was delighted last month to officially launch a new phase of philanthropic partnership between the University of Galway and National Breast Cancer Research Institute, an extraordinary place doing extraordinary research. And there was a donation there made from community funding, community fundraising right across the West of €4 million to support breast cancer research, building on the already very significant investment that has been placed there. But it is very widely accepted that we have to do more to support clinical trials. The National Clinical Trials Oversight Group is identifying some challenges and formatting solutions to increase the number of clinical trials. And I do expect its final report, or final draft report, in the coming months. And I want to see greater access to clinical trials, and to be very clear about that. Since 1996, our national cancer strategies have been shaping and informing cancer control. We have seen sustained investment, very clear strategic direction, and that has worked in large part. The Centres of Excellence model has worked in large part, but we want to make sure that treatment is available as locally as can be. In Budget 2025, an additional $23 million was secured for the National Cancer Strategy. The government has invested over $230 million in additional funding for cancer services since 2017. But the benefit is seen in the number of patients that are surviving cancer diagnosis. When the strategy was published in 2017, that figure was 150,000. To date is 220,000. And that, of course, is 220,000 of our family and our community who are surviving cancer better. Behind every one of those numbers is an individual whose cancer is unique and very deeply personal, and they really do deserve the very best care. What I'm encouraged about is that the treatment has become so very personal, and I really learned that in the Research Institute in Galway, where we have these personalised, individualised treatment programmes that really identify and manipulate cancer in a different way and interrupt cancer in a very different way, and I was hugely encouraged to see that. But I know senators have more contributions, so please let me finish.
Minister, thank you.